Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
You're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy. Fanboy.
Fanboy.
Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
Elizabeth Guest, we are talking about your latest film. I'm going to call it the anti-Hallmark Christmas movie, if that's if that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, that's fun. I like it.
Let's Call the Whole Thing Off is coming to the Newport Beach Film Festival on Saturday, October 18th, with a noontime showing at the Lido Theater. Congratulations on this. I always feel terrible for Andrew Leeds because he always ends up, he's like the James Marsden of actors that always gets left at the altar at some point. And so he's phenomenal at this role.
He really is, isn't he? Oh
Yeah.
my God. I'm so grateful that he liked the script and said yes. And I had known him just outside of socially for a long time. And we didn't really know each other. And so I was definitely nervous to direct him and like act with him, but he was a dream. Yeah. He's so talented.
I would have been more nervous with Ed Begley just because Ed has such a deadpan, straight delivery that even when he's serious, you're not sure if you should laugh or not. So, that would have been harder for me.
I was lucky. Oh my goodness. I need to put my computer on Do Not Disturb. Sorry. I forget to do that. Ed, and I was lucky with Ed because we had done the web series that the movie is based on together. So I got to practice and work through that fear. So Ed is the whole like concept of the web series even exists because I wanted to work with Ed. I wanted him to play my other dad. And he loved the web series, thank God. And then he loved the script to the movie. And then, so I've been working with Ed for a decade and it's the best.
What I truly enjoy about this film, not only you get to work with Ed, you get to work with the legendary Carradine brothers. You have so many talented people in this film. Let's quote the kids on this one, as cringy as some of the characters could be, you don't hate any of them. Well, except maybe your TA. But other than
Yeah.
And the one spoiler line I will give is your mom calling him Candy and the teeth reference. Like, how did you come up with that line specifically? Had somebody said that to you and you're like, oh, I got to use this at some point?
The line about, no, I think I just
He's
wrote
like
that.
Candy and you have sensitive teeth.
I wrote that because that's just based on my life. I was definitely a sugar addict when I was a kid, and my parents literally had to cut me off and be like, you can't have any change on you because we know you're going to go get that popsicle because it's popsicle day. And I would literally like wander around the school like looking for quarters on the ground so that I could get a popsicle. I had so many cavities, so many. I think it's the British genes because, with the teeth. But yeah, that's just based on my life.
Because I am going to steal that line, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So I will quote you for it, but I will use that in everyday conversation at some point.
Okay, great. Let's make it a part of the world.
Yes, we'll make it part of the American lexicon.
Yes, exactly.
So take us through this love addiction thing. I thought someone that would be a love addict would be like dying to get married and like have the wedding planned out since they were like 3 with like plug-in groom here. And in your instance, this is the runaway bride. She's addicted to the notion of love, but non-committal. Correct. Okay. So that's the opposite end of the spectrum of love addict.
Well, what's so interesting is there are so many different kinds of love addicts. And I read the book about love addiction and forgot what it's called actually. It's purple. Anyway, I read the book and I went to meetings. I did research and it's also inspired by my life. I was in my 20s. My dating life just felt very chaotic. And I was very overwhelmed with the idea that I was going to be hurting people and that they were hurting me. And like, it was just, I was very sensitive and it was a lot. And as a result, it just got more overwhelming. And then there's this checklist when you go to a meeting. I can't really say what the meeting's called, but it basically where you assess if you are a love addict. And basically my overall impression of that checklist is that I used to do those things in my 20s. And it's basically like people who haven't matured in this area, right? And they keep doing these things, they keep making these mistakes as at whatever age they are. And it's kind of like alcoholism in the sense that like an alcoholic can't have just one drink, right? And it's it becomes unfun, right? Because it takes a turn that's not healthy for that person. And so, but the complicated thing about love is you can't just cut it off completely. So I have a lot of compassion for love addicts because it's a daily thing, and you don't want to necessarily not be able to have love in your life. So it's but somebody, when you go to a meeting, you hear, oh, I'm a codependent, or I'm a saboteur. You can, one person can be both like ends of the spectrum.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, and Lydia's issue, like in the web series and in the movie, was always that she was trying to get out of it, because she's afraid.
See,
Yeah.
that makes me wonder where I'd fall into, because I like the notion of being in a relationship, but I also am such a loner that I'd be like, hey, can we buy a duplex and you live next door?
I have heard from people in the recent years that the success to I know a couple that they've been together for 10 years, and their secret is that they have their own apartments. I mean, I think I don't even know that that's such a bad instinct to like want to protect your life and your routine, and then also like have the benefit of having a companion in life. I think that's actually healthy to like want your own life, and then also it's like not needing someone but wanting someone.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting aspect, and especially that's part of your character, because you want someone but you don't need them, but you don't know how to live with them, and you don't know how to live with yourself. Like it's just this huge dichotomy of emotional roller coaster in what's going on. So I want to commend you on that.
Thanks.
The notion of the two sets of parents and the codependency of the exes on parenting, like how true is that to somebody's life, whether it was your own or somebody that you knew, where they were still like glued to the hip with their ex?
That's a good question. I definitely have exes, and I think, yeah, like again, this is a lot of the movie, and a lot of Lydia is really just represents me when I was 25, not if I hadn't gone to therapy and I hadn't worked on myself. But I did have an ex in my 20s that I felt like we were kind of circling each other for a while, even though we shouldn't have. And we never got back together. But I think like for me, my heart was going in and out of being back with him, if that makes sense. I think it's really hard to let go of love that you've had. I mean, because the person becomes, like a best friend too. And there's a lot of dating podcast experts who say, never get back with an ex. But it's just, life is complicated. And I don't think you can I don't think anybody can tell anyone exactly what they should do ever. Sometimes
Right.
people do make mistakes, and they do want to get back with their ex because those two people just needed to work on themselves, which is basically what the movie's about. She's not ready for his love because she hasn't worked on herself,
Right.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Um,
It certainly is inspired by my life. I'm not gonna
right.
pretend it's not.
Whereas I'm on the total opposite end of the spectrum. When someone's like, I don't think this is working out, I'll delete their number in front of them, and like I wouldn't even remember your face 30 seconds later.
Well, maybe that's also very healthy. It's like if somebody doesn't want to talk to you anymore, like I think that's healthy that you're able to move on. And again, like it's to each his own. Like
Oh,
nobody has the recipe for anybody else.
right. What I love is how funny and how realistic your film is. Yeah, obviously there's the over the top moments because it is a comedy, and
Yeah.
we need to laugh right now. We haven't laughed, in the last half decade.
Yeah.
And it's good that we have something that we can just sit back and chuckle with the absurdity of it all.
Hmm.
When you're the writer, the director, and the star of the film, you're wearing so many hats. I'm assuming you were craft services at some point since it's an indie film. How do you pull back and compartmentalize everything where, all right, here's the focus of the shot.
Mm,
Here's what's on the written page. It's not quite working, even though I love this line. And
yeah.
then how do I get myself to deliver the line that's not quite working? And where am I willing to change certain things to make it fit?
I think that because I have done a lot of improv in my life, and a lot of my actors have done improv. I think that we were all just willing to do the whatever was the best thing to do in the moment, you know? I mean, we're moving so quickly too, so I was solving problems left and right, and other people were too. I mean, it was a full collaboration. And so I really don't know how to answer that other than like you just make the best possible decision that you can in that moment. And of course, like I go back in my mind, I'm like, oh, I could have done that or that or that, but you're just doing what occurs to you in that moment. And I think it goes back to making the web series because I was prepared. Like I'd worked with most of these actors before in some of the same locations, you know, I like know the world and the so it's just being prepared too, because if you're not prepared then you can't quickly work something out, you know. But that also you just have to be open to whatever the best thing is right then and there, because that's the truth, you know.
And how do you avoid the aspect of recreating the web series, whether, splicing it together to make it a film or picking out, the hotspot lines? They're like, that really worked in the web series. I'm going to plug it in here. And
Mhm.
sometimes that almost feels forced when you transition from one to the other. How did
Yeah.
you avoid that aspect to make it flow the way it did?
Oh, that's such a good question. That was probably the biggest challenge because I was, even though a lot of people haven't seen my web series, I was adapting something. So it was difficult, but I think at the end of the day, in the script and then in the editing room, really, where you really are slicing, and I think you just do what is best for this particular viewing experience. The first editor I worked with, Mel, she would constantly remind me like, okay, so now that we've made this huge change, we have to go back and we have to watch the entire thing to see if it works in the context of this hour and a half experience, which is so different from the web series. So I think the structure of the movie helped me along every step of the way, because it was like, and this story of this movie, as much as I wanted to use, and I did use little bits in there here and there, but for the most part, it is this experience. So that helped a lot.
With this coming to the film festival circuit and now coming to Newport Beach, are you in LA or in New York?
I'm currently in New York.
Okay.
I sort of go back and forth, much like my character, but I'm in New York right now. Yeah,
Okay, because I was going to say, if you're here, it's a perfect, hour and a half drive down to Newport Beach.
it
You get
is.
to
I
sit
will
by
be
by
there
the
for
coast.
that. I
Okay.
will drive. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice coastal drive down PCH. Uh,
Yes.
you know, when you put your hard work together and then you submit to these film festivals,
Hmm.
and it might be a little bit easier because you have such a recognizable cast, but there
Hmm.
also is that aspect of sometimes the film gets rejected, cast or not.
Hmm.
What's that level of excitement in the acceptance aspect of, wow, I get to be a part of this film festival or that one, whether it's a larger one or a smaller one, it still has to have this like, wow, they really, enjoyed what I did. Is that a different feeling than an audience reaction when the audience, when you get to sit with the audience and see how they feel about it?
I do think that it's very exciting when someone says yes. And I also, yes, it's different. It's obviously, yeah, a solo experience. It's like when you got into colleges or rejected, like nobody saw those reactions, but your like close family and friends. So it's very thrilling to be able to say like we're premiering at a really great festival, and I'm so grateful. And then we screened the movie at SAG actually for some SAG members, and it went really well. And I was too nervous to be in the theater, so I stayed right outside, but there was a lot of laughter and a lot of love and support. And so it makes me even more excited to premiere it at Newport because I hadn't screened it for a group of people yet. So yeah, it's really exciting. I do think that comedies are meant to be seen with other people. So I'm really, really grateful that we have a premiere.
Elizabeth, I'm going to leave you with this. What's one thing that you would like to tell a love addict that realizes they're a love addict, whether,
Oh,
going into this film or having to confess that they're an addict going into this film?
It's gonna be okay. And just keep getting to know yourself.
I love it. Elizabeth Guest, thank you so much. Where can we find you on social media if we want to connect?
Liz Guest with 2 Z's. And then the movie is Let's Call the Whole Thing Off Movie on Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And you can tell I'm doing my best not to spoil anything.
I know. Great job. Thank you so much.
It's hard when I enjoy something so much because I don't want to sit there and go, and in the second act, this is like, so I got to pull back. But thank you again.
Thanks for talking to me.